The news is finally official. IndyCar has a new street course for 2026, and it is indeed in Texas. It is indeed in the DFW area, and it's the Arlington Grand Prix, which will take place around Jerry World. Just what we kind of expected. Announced today, although not all the details announced today. Some of those, including the track layout, will be announced tomorrow, which makes me kind of scratch my head and say, why not just announce it all tomorrow? But I digress. We got a lot to discuss in this video, and no, we're not just going to belabor the point about Texas Motor Speedway, though it certainly will come up in this video. We definitely need to talk more about the track itself, the idea of this Grand Prix, and there is a narrative out there which I don't necessarily disagree with, although I can't also jump on the train as hard as some others are, that this is the biggest deal that's ever happened in the history of IndyCar. I think that's a bit of hyperbole. It's a big deal, and it's great that there's a new partner involved in it, but is this some game changer? I would say no, and I'll explain why later on in this video. But first, just want to give a quick thoughts and prayers to all our friends in the St. Pete, Tampa area, because there's a hurricane, a very, very significant, strong storm coming that direction. And we hope you're all staying safe in that area of the country. We've seen the destruction that the Hurricane Helene wreaked on the North Carolina coast, and now obviously a big hurricane coming for Florida as well. So thinking about all of you guys affected by the recent weather, hope you stay safe for sure, because we like St. Pete. We like that area quite a bit. The Tampa area has been very good to the sport of racing, and it's a great area. So hope everybody stays safe over there. Let's talk about the Grand Prix of Arlington. It's very interesting. There's a couple of things that stand out to me right away. Number one, the fact that the D word and the T word not used in the Grand Prix name. This is not the Grand Prix of Texas. This is not the Grand Prix of Dallas. And that's probably a smart play because, again, we've talked about the controversy ad nauseum at this point, but the fact that there are going to be a lot of question marks about, well, why not Texas Motor Speedway? And even I've seen some why not COTA, which is kind of interesting. Why not COTA is specifically because of Texas Motor Speedway, by the way, if you wanted to know the truth about it. But yeah, Grand Prix of Arlington. I mean, not trying to pretend that it's taking place in Dallas. It is in the DFW area, but yeah, no, I mean, I think that is a good choice. Believe it or not, I think that's a good choice for the Grand Prix. I think it's a good choice from IndyCar and the marketing department over there to distance it a little bit from the Dallas area. So yeah, no, I think that makes some sense. And yes, Arlington, Texas, people know and associate with the Dallas Cowboys, which are a major part of this partnership. So from that perspective, makes a lot of sense. I do think it's funny, though, that the Texas logo is in Houston Oilers colors, or Houston Texans colors, I guess you could say now. But I mean, when I see the baby blue and red, I think of the Oilers. So and the fact that literally there was a racetrack at a stadium in Texas around the Astrodome and Reliant Stadium in previous years, and this one using the Oilers / Texans colors and taking place at Jerry World is quite interesting. Quite an interesting play there, but for sure, something that I look at and I go, huh, really makes you think. But they did try to incorporate the Dallas Cowboys star logo there, and it presumably the red has something to do with the Texas Rangers as well, which are another partnership involved here. So we'll read briefly from some of the statement they put out today. Not a whole lot of information in this, but we'll kind of hit some of the high points. The fact that Texas, Penske, or the state of Arlington, Texas, Penske Entertainment, Dallas Cowboys, and Rev Entertainment, the official events partner of the Texas Rangers, have announced a first-of-its-kind joint venture to establish and operate the IndyCar Grand Prix of Arlington, which the initial race is set for March of 2026. Now, we'll talk a little bit more in depth here in a few minutes about the date for this race, but I suppose the good news is, just initially, is that this date would seem to fill the gap behind the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, which is enormous for IndyCar and, quite frankly, quite a momentum killer in terms of the championship. And with the thermal points race, regardless of what you think of it, if you go St. Pete, Arlington, thermal, you've at least got the front half of the season. You've got some content there. I guess that's what I can say, which is an improvement over nothing, I suppose. The 2.73-mile track layout will feature two iconic sporting venues recognized by fans around the world: AT&T Stadium, home of the National Football League's Dallas Cowboys, and Globe Life Field, home of Major League Baseball's Texas Rangers. The track will weave through Arlington's core sports and entertainment district, which features an all-star lineup of venues and annually sets more than 1.6 million tickets to spectators near and far. A celebration ceremony. Now, this is where they're going to announce the track layout tomorrow, which is odd, and I don't know what additional details of the event they're going to do at this event, but I'm going to be on a plane to Atlanta, so I probably won't be able to comment on it immediately when it comes out. Fox Sports, another really important part of this partnership, in my opinion. It makes so much sense since you have a partnership now with Fox Sports, and of course, the fact that IndyCar now avoids the NFL, and the fact that they have to avoid it even further now that they have this Fox partnership, makes a lot of sense because, of course, the Fox Sports is the TV partner of the National Football Conference, right? The NFC. So one of the biggest teams, one of the biggest draws in the NFC is the Dallas Cowboys. So there is some broadcast synergy there. Fox Sports, obviously very familiar with Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys, has a lot of contacts in that organization, has a lot of strings they can pull to promote the event, promote the fact that the race is happening. I would certainly hope that at the next Dallas Cowboys home game, which I believe is this weekend, there will be some sort of an IndyCar presence there to promote this race and say, hey, March 2026, guys, come on down. We're going to be racing in Dallas. We're going to be racing around the stadium. So I think there are some cool avenues where all of the partnerships can synergize and get together and create one big happy family. There's some quotes from Penske, Jerry Jones, Neil Leibman, who is the chief operating officer of the Texas Rangers, as well as Jim Ross, who I don't think is the same Jim Ross that's like the by God Jim Ross, but it could be. It is Texas after all. But none of these things are particularly full of information. However, there is a GP of Arlington website, and on it, there are some photos. And here's our first look at the Grand Prix of Arlington and the racetrack. And again, we don't specifically have any, we don't have a track layout, but we have some hints of the track layout in a couple of these photos. So this is presumably the main straightaway. You can just kind of see over here a start-finish line. Wow, we can really zoom in. Look at that. You can kind of see a start-finish line. This looks pretty similar to how Nashville did. You can also see the Dallas Cowboys logo on the inside of Turn 1. But I obviously already spoiled it for you. So if you look closely, and you can obviously tell, someone has decided that the new standard for street course pit lanes is Detroit, which is certainly a choice. And I don't know if it's a good choice, I'll be honest. This is one of those things that always worries me about street courses. This one less so, of course, because of the big partnerships that they have. And presumably Jerry World won't get significantly renovated for a little while, but you never know. That would be the biggest concern. But there was a compromise made to the pit lane. Now it is on the same straight as the front straightaway, and generally speaking, it looks like a fairly conventional pit exit, hopefully a safe pit exit. But yeah, anytime there's a compromise with the pit lane at a street course, it raises a red flag for me. Just always will. And You look at the street courses that have stood the test of time. They look like racetracks, and this one, very very Miami vibes too. I will say, which again makes a lot of sense. Whether they're going to admit it or not, this race is going to take significant inspiration from the Grand Prix at Miami for Formula One. Lots of VIP areas. I mean, you're probably not going to be able to afford a ticket in any of these sections. Big VIP bar area. I mean, this is very corporate, very corporate. I'll say that, very corporate. This looks like potentially some, yeah, for sure. This is general seating right here. So these wouldn't be bad seats if you're a general spectator, but you kind of have to be somebody to be up here, I would imagine. Looks like the paddock area back here, clearly a nice beauty shot of AT&T Stadium. Runoff looks sufficient, I suppose, and I suppose you could go further out if you really wanted to. Looks like a left-right corner for the first corner. Turn one does look like it will lend itself to some decent racing. I mean, this does look like, at least based on the render, a fairly wide, again, kind of proper racetrack. I think that's what we're looking for here with a street course. So from my perspective, yeah. And I mean, again, if you're a VIP and you can get up here, this is cool as hell to be able to stand here and see all the cars coming to turn one and go underneath you, not only at speed, but coming out of the pit. So yeah, they're definitely taking care of the VIPs. There's no doubt about it. Here's our other render, going by Globe Life Field. Again, you can kind of see a little bit, two left corners here. One appears to be a pretty high speed into a braking zone here, which I would imagine, well, it's hard to tell. I mean, this is a 2.7 mile street course, so this is some fairly significant size for a racetrack, which again lends itself to the real racetrack moniker that we all kind of hope and pray for, crossing our fingers. And it looks wide enough, and that's kind of the secret formula, right? Wide with decent braking zones and long straightaways. If you can do that, you've got a good recipe for a street course. There's no doubt about it. But we'll find out the full layout tomorrow, and hopefully it doesn't look too Mickey Mouse. There is also now a Grand Prix of Arlington website, which has the Michael Irvin video behind it, and lots of oval highlights that they've put into this street course promotion. But there's not a ton of information on this website, but we did learn a few new things. You can buy merch if you really want, or you can be a partner. But there is an FAQ section on here, and there's a little bit of extra information. Specifically, the unspecific date of March 2026. And with the New York Rangers baseball schedule, one would imagine it would be early March. Probably, again, my speculation is it will be the race after St. Pete, which, if you are a racing fan, not just an IndyCar fan, probably is going to clash with the 12 hours of Sebring, would be my tentative guess right now. I'm hoping I'll be wrong. You would kind of hope and pray that maybe it goes St. Pete, Texas, Sebring, Thermal, especially if you're in the paddock and you're someone who does double duty between IndyCar and IMSA. There are several people, including drivers, who do that. But I would probably bet on there being a clash there, especially because I think that IndyCar would probably want a week off in between St. Pete and Texas for the haulers to go back to Indianapolis and kind of tear the cars down and put them back together to head to Texas. We'll see. But definitely, I think this race will be early March when they do announce the date. Where will the race be? On the streets of the Entertainment District of Arlington, Texas, surrounding AT&T Stadium and Globe Life Field. We got that part. What type of racing events will this include? The NTT IndyCar Series and Indy Next by Firestone. Additional support events will be announced at a later date. So hopefully, I don't know what else could kind of support it. Maybe something like Trans Am, because I know that was a support race at Nashville. Maybe Pirelli World Challenge. Past that, you wouldn't get IMSA. You probably wouldn't get MX5 Cup. There's not a lot of options out there for additional support events. How long is the track and how many turns? 2.73 miles and 14 turns. So, yeah, I mean, again, we'll have to see the layout. How many laps will the race be? Race distance will be announced at a later date. When will tickets be on sale? They will be available for purchase in the spring of 2025. So you only have to wait as long as the IndyCar off season to buy your tickets. And how do I receive updates about this event? I will not be clicking there to sign up. So, yeah, the IndyCar Grand Prix of Arlington. Some positives, I would say. Some things that are going to be announced at a later date. I think the biggest thing I can take away from this is that I'm glad it is filling a space on the calendar that otherwise, I suppose, wouldn't be filled. Yes, this event is a deterrent to eventually Texas Motor Speedway, or it's a deterrent from Texas Motor Speedway appearing on an IndyCar calendar in the foreseeable future. That's a negative. Straight up, it's a negative. I don't care. Say what you will. You can tell me what a big deal this race is. Okay. We'll see what happens with Fox and the marketing strength of the Dallas Cowboys. Although it doesn't seem like, it seems more like to me, because the Rev, where is it? Rev Entertainment. This seems more like a Texas Rangers partnership than a Dallas Cowboys partnership. It almost seems like the partnership with the Cowboys, to me, is just the fact that they got approval to race around the stadium. This seems more like the Texas Rangers are involved than the Cowboys. So maybe if you can leverage the Cowboys, if you can get Jerry to promote you, but it seems like the Texas Rangers are going to be the ones doing the promotion. So I unfortunately, I'm trying to get more into baseball, go Tigers, but I don't know enough about the promotional moxie of the Texas Rangers, and perhaps that's everything I need to know right there to know how this is going to be promoted on their end, or how they're going to leverage the partnerships that they have. I don't know. We'll see. Long way to go before this race happens, but I'm sure there's going to be a lot of discussion about it. Excited to see what the track looks like. Hopefully it's racy. We'll see you in the next video.